Hello everyone, Zillorinth here, and today we're going to go ahead and take an in-depth look at Tair, a unit that I would consider at the same level as Coco and Inanna, probably better than both of them in terms of a must-pull, probably one of the most useful support units currently available in CN. And the reason I'm going over him now when he came out significantly later, if we kind of look at the CN version, Tair came out after Saffiyah, August, Hasna, Homa, Kara, Shaklulu, Agatha. And so we know that they have been changing up the schedule, and I've heard a rumor that, so we're pretty sure that Saffiyah is coming next after Akambe. But then everybody was predicting that it would be August next, just kind of try and get the big power players out of the way. So Saffiyah, August, and then Hasna, Homa. But it does sound like there are rumors that Tair actually may be getting moved all the way up to be right after Saffiyah. And so if you kind of look at what you have here on the predictions from Timeos, is that he had Tair estimated to come out January 17th. But this is if they pretty much follow the CN schedule without any changes like they did with Coco. So if we look at how that would work out, then after Akambe, we would have Saffiyah at October 11th. But then that means here in just another 3 weeks, so October 25th, we'll have Tair come out. And that's significantly sooner than anticipated. And Tair is a unit that a lot of people are going to want to save up for. So it almost feels like they're trying to put all the big players out. Because a lot of people are going to be pulling for Saffiyah. So Tair being up next makes it where there's a likelihood that a lot of people are going to have the thoughts of wanting to spend, even if they are not spending at this point. So it's definitely going to be tough, and I'll have to kind of update over this weekend my pull priorities if Tair is the one coming up, because I think he is a very big support in terms of priority. And so we'll kind of go over his kit here to kind of look at why I think that and why he's so useful. And he is valuable to all teams. He's like essential for certain teams, like Akambe really wants him, but he's good with pretty much every team and useful. Bring along just with about anyone. It's kind of the same situation that you have with Inanna. So if we start here and look at Tair's kit, we'll first look at his trait here, what makes him unique, and then we'll kind of look at a CN video to kind of see how it works, because it's pretty unique that we haven't had with a unit yet. So at the start of an action, a random volume, it's like a random book or knowledge, whatever you want to call it, and I don't know what they're going to call it in the English version. So random volume is found in an open space within 3 squares of the player's range. After picking it up, you will gain 1 level of knowledge and then a level 2 bonus, or buff basically, which will last for 2 rounds and can be moved up to 3 squares or more. For every 2 levels of knowledge you have, so every 2 volumes that you pick up, you can use the history skill luncheon. It's a unique skill that Tair has that is pretty much always available within his kit. So the upper level, so the amount of knowledge you can have is 2. So your cap of knowledge at a 1 star is 2, which is how much you need to use the skill. And you will gain 1 level of knowledge at the start of battle. So you start with 1 level of knowledge, and then if you pick up a volume, you'll be able to use this skill right off the bat on your first turn if you want. And then when you release a healing or support skill, the maximum range is increased by 1 square, and after releasing it, the target will receive an additional 15% magic attack value in healing. So he's kind of a support / healer. He has a lot of both, and there's multiple ways that you can build his kit. But first, we're going to want to take a look at what this actually means with this knowledge and volumes that you can pick up. Alright, so I have a video here that kind of demonstrates this volumes and knowledge and picking them up and how they work. So every round, a new little scroll looking icon here, or volumes, will appear on the field that Tair needs to pick up in order to build up his knowledge to be able to cast his historical skill. Now, at 1 star, he is only allowed to have a cap of 2 knowledge, and that is exactly the amount needed to cast a historical skill. But he can have up to 5 stars, it caps out at 6. So if you can get his stars on there, it can be important to pull up multiple at one time. And one of the big things with these scrolls is when you pick one up, it does let you move an additional 3 spaces after picking it up. So and then you'll see here in the demonstration, as the rounds go on, if you're not picking them up, they will start to accumulate. And so you can see you have looks like 5 scrolls out here, or 5 volumes, and so he can actually pick up all of these in one go, because when he picks one up, it does let him move an additional 3 spaces. Now you just have to know with 1 star he can only have a cap of 2 knowledge, so picking them up after 2 doesn't do anything for him. But once you start building up his stars, he starts raising that cap. I think it's at 3 stars he can have a cap of 4, and then at 5 stars a cap of 6. And so to kind of demonstrate here picking up the scrolls and how it'll work. So he will go through and pick up every one of these because it gives him an additional 3 spaces to pick them up. So he goes here, he picks up that one, and then it lets him move again. He can pick up that one. It doesn't move him again. He can go pick up that one. You just keep moving and picks up all the scrolls. So now he has a bunch of knowledge on him. Okay, so now that we know that you gain knowledge through picking up those volumes there, and it costs 2 knowledge to cast a historical skill. Now, let's go ahead and take a look what the actual historical skills are. And this is built into his kit. This is not part of his 3 skills that you need to select. So he has this by default, regardless of how you have them built. And so historical skills, there are 3 of them that come with it. And they are all instants. So you have the first one, which is an instant that causes the target teammate to gain damage 2. It gives them damage reduction 2 for 1 round. His second historical skill is an instant that applies move 2, vulnerability 2 to 1 enemy for 1 turn. And then you have the third one that's an instant that dispels 1 debuff from all allies within 2 squares of the target range. And so if you kind of look at the skill here, it tells he has a range of 4. So a range with 4 to put the instant to give your teammate a buff. For the vulnerability and move down, it's got a range of 5. And then for the dispelling to debuff, it has a range of 3, and then wherever you select within 2 squares of that area, it will remove all the debuffs on units. So this is just a all-around flexible support skill to not only buff your allies, but debuff the enemies and remove debuffs from your teammates. So if we kind of want to take a look at the skills in action, you can kind of see here in a video I've pulled up from CN on it. So you can see he has the knowledge currently in his kit. So he has his main 3 skills here that he has selected as part of his actual kit. But then you have this 4th one here, which is his trait skill. It's almost kind of like you think with a Kanbei, if you cast an assassin, he has a 4th little skill that comes over here for making the assassins do their AoE. The same thing with Tair. He gets this 4th additional skill that's just part of his trait. And within this skill, he has 3 more moves within it. So you can think of this like him actually having 6 different moves in his kit. And so you have 2 knowledge, then you can cast any one of these, and this video he'll show it a little bit to an extent. So it kind of shows the range. So here's the one where you're buffing up. So this is one where you're debuffing the enemy. And then you have the one that this looks to be the one that removes debuffs from all your teammates. Alright, so now let's go ahead and take a look at the remainder of what accumulating stars on his trait will be. And he's going to be a unit that I would say that you want to, just like Coco, push him the 5 stars. He's actually going to be very useful right off the bat at 1 star, but the more stars he gets, the better he gets. So you already know about the knowledge of volumes and all that. So he starts with an upper limit of 2. So you can only have 2, so you can do one historical skill per turn because he only can get up to 2. Or he can only hold up to 2. And then you only start with 1 level of knowledge at the start of battle. But then you have this last part of his trait that we haven't gone over here, which is when releasing a healing or support skill, the maximum range is increased by 1 square. And then after you use a support or healing skill, the target will receive a 15% magic attack value healing. So he heals people regardless if he uses a support or healing skill. So if he uses a heal, they get an additional 15% heal on them. But if he uses any support skill on an ally, which includes his historical one, they get a 15% heal. So if you notice from the video, when he used his historical skill to give the teammate the buff, or the one that removed their debuffs, you saw all the teammates get healed. So he can AoE heal with just an AoE support skill. So any AoE support skill that he has will heal teammates. And so that'll include, which I probably would think would be one of his best trinkets, the August scrolls. So as you know, the August scrolls it puts a buff of speed and then like a level 2 support onto an ally. If you use that trinket on an ally, it's going to cause them to also get a little bit of a heal. So he can do a significant amount of healing without even having to cast a heal skill. And so as you can go up in the stars, the second one, which is pretty big right off the bat because it increases it to a cap of 4. So now you can save up to 4 layers of knowledge, which means you can cast 2 historical skills. And then it also increases the heal from 15 to 20%. So getting that second star right off the bat is a huge upgrade right by itself. You get an increase to your heal and it increases your cap. Going to 3 stars starts you off with a little bit more knowledge. You start with 3 instead of 2. So right off the bat, when you have 3, you can pick up 1, and now you have 4, so you can cast 2 historical skills right in the beginning of the fight. And that's pretty much it for the 3rd star. But the starting with them is pretty big because it allows you to do more things right off the bat with his historical skills. So then when you get to the 4th star, which I think the 4 stars is probably the most important in terms, because then it gets you a cap of 6. And then you start with 4 layers of knowledge, so you can immediately cast 2 historical skills right off the bat. And then you cast a healing support skill, so it brings it up to 25% healing. So actually a pretty significant heal now at that point. His cap has been increased. And then if you're going to push him all the way to 5 stars, this one starts you with 5 layers of knowledge right off the bat. So you can actually cast 3 historical skills right off the bat because he can pick up knowledge. And so he'll have 6 at his cap of 6. And so right off the bat, you can cast 3. And then the maximum range is now 2 squares rather than 1. So 5 is, you ultimately want to get him to 5, but his biggest bang for his buck is at 4, just because I like the cap. But he is one, just like Coco, that I'm going to put him, and you're going to want to put him in the memory shard farm until you have 5 stars. He's just that good. And so that's his trait. So his trait by itself is amazing. Now let's kind of look at how it pairs with his actual skills in his kit. And the big thing with his kit is pretty much all of his skills are either heals or support. So everything in his kit is pretty much going to do a heal when he does it. So his initial skill, it's just your basic heal. Heal the target for 100% of magic attack value and dispel 1 debuff. I mean, this is your standard heal that you have on pretty much all your healers in your kits. So overall, good skill. One big thing though is since he already has healing built into support skills, I see no reason this to be on his kit, because he heals people by default just by doing anything that's support. Now, if you want a super big heal, yeah, of course, you do this 100% plus an additional 15%, right? He's got way better stuff in his kit that you're going to immediately drop this skill right off the bat because he can already heal with anything else. So then we'll go to his level 1 skills. We have Seeds of Wisdom. And this is a skill that dispels 1 debuff from all allies within 2 squares of the target, and then grants increase to speed and meditation that lasts for 2 rounds. And this is a skill that costs 2 energy and has 2 cooldown. And so speed's good, so it makes everybody go first. And then the meditation is when you start an action, you restore 1 additional energy. So if anyone's watched my videos on Akambe, you kind of know that he's very, very energy hungry. And Tair is one of probably the most important units in his build on making sure that you can keep his energy up. So Tair and Inanna are huge for his kit. And so this is just one way so that you can have him increasing an additional energy per turn. So this is one that you're going to want to have in his kit. You're going to want to pick this one. But then on his other skill, and this is a big thing with Tair, is you're probably going to want to use a lot of Castellas on him, because pretty much everything in his kit is useful. It just will depend on the situation you're in. So his other level 1 skill is this is a 2 energy cost skill with a 3 turn cooldown. And this one restores 4 energy to the target friendly unit and grants them a plus attack 2, move plus 2, and speed plus 2 that lasts for 2 rounds. So to me, this is actually the more important skill. And this is another one that's really big for Akambe, because it gives 4 energy. Right off bat, 4 energy, just flat 4 energy, and he can have up to 9. So these are both skills that you're going to want to use your Castella on. And so let's go ahead and take a look at them. All right, I have it up with the skill. So this is going to go through both these level 1 skills here. And you'll notice right off the bat how his trait is taking place as well when casting the skill. So right here you have the one that increases the teammates' speed and gives them the energy. And then you have the other one that gives the 4 energy. So this is the AoE one that is increasing speed, removing debuffs. But also, as you can see, part of his trait, you're seeing that 15 or the 25%, however, I don't know how many stars this guy has on his character, but it's also healing all of your units with that skill. So big heal while also applying all those buffs to your teammates. And then we'll go ahead and take a look at the other one. So this is the one that gives the plus speed, plus attack, and 4 energy. Select a teammate. So of course he's displaying it with a Convallaria here. He's casting it on a Convallaria. This is going to be one of your favorite things for a Convallaria. And then it gives him that 25% heal from his trait. Plus he gets that plus attack, 4 energy. And it's kind of showing here, yeah, it gives him all these stats. Plus, it just, I mean, this guy doesn't have as a Convallaria. It looks maxed out, but it maxed out his energy and his build. Just an all-around great skill. And very big for a Convallaria, but also very big for any other units. Because if you have Gloria or somebody else they have 0 star, they have 0 energy, you just cast that skill and they're topped up pretty much right off the bat. And it also heals them along with this trait. So both of these are both must-haves in his kit. You're going to want to have a Castella for both of these skills. All right. So we'll take a look at his level 3 skills here. The one on the left is healing. So this is a passive. At the end of each action, heal the ally with the lowest HP within 3 squares, and it's a healing amount of 20%. So this one, if you have like Inanna, this skill is actually built into Inanna's trait. But as you know, he's already doing a lot of healing. So this is if you want him to be even more of a healer. So this one to me is not as important because pretty much everything else he does heals your teammates. So this is almost to me overhealing. So this one's not as necessary in my opinion. Then you have the one on the right, which is Light of the Soul. It's an instant that restores 1 energy to all allies within 3 squares of the target range. I mean, it says it right in it. This is an instant and it restores energy to all allies within 3 squares. It only costs 1 energy for him, and it has a 3-turn cooldown. So right off the bat, if you use this level 1 skill that restores 4 energy plus this one, you can give 5 energy to one of your teammates, like a Convallaria, which really wants that energy. So this one's the one that you pretty much always want to select. And you have to remember, this is a support skill. So not only are you doing this, but you are also doing a 15% magic attack heal. Or if you're at 5 stars, it's 25%. So say you need to do a very, very large AoE heal, you can just cast this. This is an instant. So you will give them all energy. You will heal them 25% of your magic attack value. And then say you have this skill here, this other support skill, you cast this one that impacts all allies within 2 squares, removes debuffs, and that'll do a 25% heal. So you've basically just did an AoE 50% heal while casting 2 support skills. You gave them energy, you removed debuffs, you gave them speed +2, and you gave them meditation, which then also restores energy. So you can kind of see why Tair is probably one of the most useful supports as we slowly go through his skills, because pretty much everything heals, and he has a lot of instants in his kit that can make it where he's constantly doing actions for your teammates, and he's really buffing up their energy. And we've only gone through the level 3 skills at this point. So then we'll get to his reactions. To me, the reactions are probably the least important of his kit in terms of all of his skills, but they both have their uses. So his first reaction here is before being attacked, dispel 2 buffs of the opponent and reduce the damage caused by 20%. So this is just a good way to reduce damage that he takes. And then his other one is Heart of Forbearance. Reduce continuous damage, which that's basically dot damage. So it reduces dot damage by 50%. And at the end of action, you are affected by a control. If you are affected by a control effect, remove all control effects and gain immune to immobilization for 2 rounds. So I think both of these have their values. And this may be something down the line that I may want to put a Castella on. Just because it'll depend on the situation when you're doing Tower of Adversity. But I would say Heart of Forbearance would probably be the most important one because it pretty much makes you immune to immobilization impacted effects and reduces dot damage quite significantly. But I think either one of these can work within his kit. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at his level 7 skills here. So the first one on the left, and this one I believe I've seen this in other Epic. I don't know which unit it is, but I believe an Epic unit has this skill. And so this is a heal It applies to all characters within 2 squares of the player. It applies sleep to those units, and then tipsy. And this is to allies, so it applies sleep and tipsy for 1 round. Recovers 60% of the player's health and dispels 3 debuffs. And this has a cooldown of 4. Now, this has the downside that it puts everybody within that range to sleep. But this is effectively a giant AoE heal and extent because it's impacting all of them. They're going to get that 25% magic heal. And then they're going to get tipsy, which increases the critical hit rate by 30% and reduces damage taken by 10%. So this is this one I feel is going to be very situational, and I'm guessing there are good situations to use this. I can't think of them right off the top of my head, just because I don't really like the idea of putting my teammates to sleep. But I do know it will have its value in the future, because if your ally gets attacked, they wake up from that sleep, they've had their damage reduced, now they have a higher critical rate. You've done a nice heal to everybody, as well as reduced a bunch of debuffs. So if you have heavy debuffing on your teammates, you're removing all of them. So this one I will end up having. It's just, it'll be more of a situational skill than anything else. And then you have Aesthetic, which is a passive, and it's after receiving damage, you gain 1 level of Penance. And a Penance is a buff that reduces damage taken by 8%, cannot be dispelled, and can be stacked up to 3 times. So basically, after you receive damage 3 times, you have a 24% reduction in the damage. And then an additional one energy restored at the end of the round. So at the end of his round, he gets 1 additional energy. So this one is another really good skill. It's gonna be situational, because like everything in his kit is pretty good. So you're not gonna have room to have everything. But this is one I would probably select of the 2. But this one's probably going to get a Castella for me at some point, because they will both have their value at some point. So we'll look at his normal attacks. These ones, I believe, are within other units' kits. So there's nothing really special or unique to him for them. But his first one is the Kind Heart Strike. So deals 80% magic damage and increased healing effect for 15% by the next 2 turns. To me, this is going to be probably the default skill you want to grab. Just increases his healing, and as you know, that's pretty much all he does. With any action he takes is going to heal the ally that he's impacting. So if you have to do a basic attack with him, now you just increase his healing for his next healing effect. So just all around good, makes him more healing. The other one is just dispels buffs from 2 targets. So to me, neither one of these are like mind-blowing or must-haves, but since he does so much healing in his kit, I feel like this is just the default skill you're going to want to have. I don't know how often you're going to actually be basic attacking with him, though, because there's so many other things you're going to be wanting to do with him. So we'll take a look at his last level 11 skills here. So he has Holy Healing, which is a heal that heals a single target for 60% of the target's magic attack value. Also heal all allies within 3 squares of the target for 30% of the target's magic value. So this is just basically an ultimate heal. Does the 60% to an ally, then heals everyone else within range by 30%. And then you also, as with all the other skills, you do an additional 25% on top of that to all these. So just a massive, massive heal. This has no cooldown, costs 3 energy. So this is a skill that you can kind of spam depending on how much energy he has, as well as energy regeneration you're getting from other teammates. Then you have his other one, which is probably the one I would select as my main one. I'll probably end up using Castella on this one. But this one's unique to him. It's called Dreaming in a Cage. This one has a massive cooldown of 7 turns, and it costs 2 energy. So it's self-acquired Dreaming in a Cage. It lasts for 2 rounds. And this is an aura. So this basically creates an aura for 2 rounds that increases all allies' damage and penetration damage within 3 grids. So within 3 grids of him, increases all by 15% and shares the damage. And it's immune to attribute debuffs, restores 15% health at the end of action, cannot be dispelled, and cannot be immune. So what this is basically doing, and we'll kind of look at it in a video here, is it's increasing all of your allies' damage. It makes them immune to debuffs on their attributes. So you're not going to get attack down, you're not going to get move down, you're not going to get any of that stuff. It restores 15% of health at the end of action. So as your allies do their actions, it's going to heal them. And this cannot be dispelled, and they can't be made immune of it. and they share. And the other big thing is sharing damage, and we'll see this here in the video. But it's if you played any of their games, basically all allies share the damage within the certain range. So we'll go ahead and take a look at this. All right, I have the video up here, and so this is the skill here. So there's a lot of parts to it that's going to kind of show here, so it'll be kind of just explained as we see. So as soon as he casts it, he's casting it, and it's going to do the heal. So that's what the ultimate looks like. So you can see it healed him as part of his trait, but now the buff is within all the teammates within 3 grids of him. So you'll be able to kind of see how it acts. It's showing all the buffs that it has applied. But then the key thing is the damage sharing now that you will see, as well as you got the 15% heal that's going to do it end of turn here every turn. But then the big defense thing here is where they share the damage amongst each other. So you're going to see someone attack Simona here. It's kind of hard to see, but as Simona got attacked, it did 40 damage to her, and then within 3 grids, so you have Tair and Etta here, they share the damage. So rather than Simona taking all 120 of the damage, it got shared amongst all 3 of them. And then you can see here, this is a big attack that hit Simona from range, and so within 3 targets, they share the damage amongst all of them, so every unit here took the damage. And so this is a massive, because when you're fighting a boss that maybe does a very, very strong single target attack that can pretty much one-shot anybody, this will spread that damage amongst everybody to prevent the unit from dying. And this will happen multiple times. I mean, this can happen for every unit. So if you keep your team nice and tight together, this will help prevent anyone from getting just one shot or one tapped in the fight. And you can see it even there. This looks like to be a PvP battle, or maybe just a demonstration of it. You had Beryl knock a rock down, and as you know, anybody who knows when you do the combat, the rocks do a significant amount of damage. It one-shots most of your team. She did it, hit Cole here, and it spread the damage amongst them. So, quite useful in the damage mitigation in that respect. So, to me, this is a must-pick skill. It just has so much built into it, and then after their turn, they're healing up, so you're spreading the damage, and then all the teammates within that area also heal up their 15%. And then you have all the other little stuff that comes with this. Now, this has a massive cooldown. It lasts for, let me see, and shares the immune debuff. At the end of action can't be spelled, so it lasts for 2 rounds, cooldown of 7, but by the 2 rounds, it's technically like a 5 rounds that you can't have it while you have it the other 2. Now then you have teammates that can reduce cooldowns, so anybody with Tair that can do a lot of cooldown reduction will be extremely useful for this skill, because basically once you use this skill, your team's not going to die. As long as they're nice and tight, they're going to spread the damage and they're going to get healed up as their turns come on. So this is basic. It doesn't make you truly invincible, but it makes your entire team extremely tanky. So that is overall Tair's kit here. As you can see, he's massive on the healing, but he's also very good on the support skills. When it comes to what I would call his primary kit, or what you're going to probably want to run most of the time, it's going to be both of his level 1 skills, because they basically they both act as heals, and then you can remove debuffs on your allies, give them meditation, which restores energy, as well as this one. So a bunch of restoring energy here. And then dreaming in a cage. So those would probably be the 3 primary skills I would have on him for just my general purpose Tair. A lot of energy generation, and then a super tanking move. But then the other one would be kind of flexing in this Light of Soul as an instant. So if you're not seeing a scenario where you're going to need dreaming in a cage, then you might swap that out for Light of the Soul. But that's another one I feel will be pretty important in this kit, because it's just another quick give energy to all your teammates. Or maybe you're not seeing yourself needing to use debuffs, so you swap out Seed of the Wisdom for Light of the Soul. So there's kind of all kinds of different builds, and it'll be situational on what is needed. But I would for sure want to use a Castella here. You could potentially use a Castella on the reaction. It just depends on what you need. You can same thing with the level 7 skills. To me, The level 7, both of them, while they have their purposes, just aren't good enough to fit into my normal builds. There might be situations where I'd use them, but I find like dreaming in a I find these 4 right here the most important skills: dreaming in a cage, lay of the soul, good news from afar, and seeds of wisdom. I mean, those are going to be the primary skills that I have a majority of the time. So overall, probably the most useful support unit, and then pairs extremely well with Akanbe, as we just received him. As you know, he's very energy dependent. And so with Akanbe, another great thing is the Dreaming in the Cage works with his assassins and other summons. So you just think the spreading the damage, and if you have 9 summons out there, they are not going to die, because they're just going to spread that damage amongst all of them if they're all within that range. And so you can make it so that they don't die, which is extremely important for Akanbe, because the assassins dying increases the cooldown of the summon more. So you have Dreaming in the Cage to keep them alive. And then just overall, an amazing healer, because anything he pretty much does heals. And then he can do multiple things in one turn, because once you have him at 5 stars, you can have you can actually do the historical skill 3 times. Because you got to remember, these are your main skills here, but then you also have the historical skill, which is basically a 4th thing he can do, and they're all instants. And so these basically are instant heals that can increase your damage or damage reduction. They can apply a debuff to the enemy, or they can dispel debuffs on your allies. I would think on the historical skills, you're going to get more use of the ones affecting teammates, because they basically act as heals as well. So overall, an amazing character. So now let's go ahead and take a look at what would be his best equipment. And I think there is, I mean, this is a very obvious choice amongst his equipment. Alright, so when we look at the equipment, both the weapon and the trinket for Tair, I think they are very obvious choices that are just significantly above the rest. I mean, they're already very good weapons just in general. So the first thing when you go to the trinkets, I think there's a shadow of a doubt that Old Scrolls of August are the absolute best trinket for him. And this is just a good trinket for just about everybody in your team. I mean, I would never want to get rid of these. And if I could have this on every teammate, I would. But it's extremely important on Tair. And if you kind of look at it, it's an instant that grants one other ally a random level 2 buff. And speed 1 for 2 turns. And you can use it 3 times per battle with a cooldown of 4 turns. If you can get a 5-star version of it, then you can use it 5 times per battle, and it has a cooldown of 2 turns. Big thing with this is it is effectively, yeah, you get a level 2 buff and speed. But if you remember with Tair's trait, after you use any support type skill, so when using healing and support skills, you receive at 5 stars it's 25%, at 1 star it's 15%. So this also acts as a heal. So this is another instant you use it. So if you have a unit that needs a lot of heals, you can use August Scrolls, then you can use one of his historical skills on the ally. So you can do a massive heal with this included. So this is just basically another built-in heal that also give a buff and speed to a teammate. And if you have this at 5 stars, you can use this 5 times per battle on a 2-turn cooldown, and it lasts for 2 turns. So you can basically keep this on a single ally. This is probably the best trinket in the game, just in general, for not only him, but other units as well. So this is pretty much going to always be the trinket that I would have on him. And so we go ahead and now look at the other weapons. Or we will look at the weapon. So he's a staff user. And I think this one's a fairly obvious one as well because of his heals. It's going to be the Reorganized Cube. This is the one that increases healing effect by 3%. And when using a skill on an ally, additionally dispels 1 debuff. So this one is just when you use any skill on an ally, it additionally reduces a debuff. So that includes August Scrolls, that includes all of his support skills that impact allies. Just all around good 1.5. So I would take Reorganized Cube and August Scrolls on Tair, Shadow of Doubt. Those are like the absolute best. If you don't have them for some reason, some other options, pretty much anything that is a support type thing that impacts teammates. I believe there's another one. Let me see, what's Spring? This one heals a character and heals the character, so this can kind of work for him to an extent. So you could probably use something like Spring Pill. I wouldn't consider it all that useful. I mean, if you want to be able to debuff a little bit more, I guess you could use Disaster Bottle. But I think just a Gust Scroll and the Cube are just that important. I can't think of the other ones off the top of my head. There's other ones that have support skills built into them. So you kind of have Shroud of the Void. You could potentially use this because it's an instant, decreases magic damage. But I just don't think anything's going to even come close to the Scrolls of August, because it basically makes it where he has another way to heal allies, as well as with this and with the Organized Cube. So not only it heal, it gives speed, but it also now removes a debuff. So I think those are just fairly obvious when it comes to his equipment. So overall, Tair is a top tier unit. To me, he is a super high priority to pull for. If he is coming as what is thought now, or what is being predicted based on potential leaks, is if he's coming after Saffiyah and you're very limited on funds, personally, this is me personally, I would prioritize Tair over Saffiyah. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, you need Saffiyah's super high priority because she just does so much damage. And yes, Saffiyah is a top tier unit. She is probably still the best DPS in the game, even in the CN version. But I just think you can't... Tair is just so useful as a support that, I mean, I think he will make other DPSs better than Saffiyah, than having Saffiyah without him. And that's just my opinion. And I feel like he's going to be less prone to power creep in that aspect. I mean, if you power creep him, I don't even want to know what the unit is that power creeps him, because they're just going to be insane all by themselves. So overall, Tair, me, is a must pick up when he comes out. When he comes out on the debut banner, I would throw everything you have at him. So that's just a quick in-depth look of all his skills. Massive healer, massive amount of support, massive amount of energy. If you can think of it, he pretty much can do it. He will cost a lot of Castella, because you can pretty much use everything within his kit to some usefulness. But yeah, overall, an amazing unit. I definitely will be getting him on my account, and I will be actually using him. I will be grinding him all the way up to 5 stars. But if there's anything that I may be missing, or some other thoughts other people have, go ahead and leave a comment. I am responding to all comments, and if you liked this video, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, it has been really helping. That's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.